77 is next.
Done.
77 is done. 78 Robinwood, on side of the harbor end. Has Ray checked into that
I
yet?
do not know if that's done yet. There's no comment there by him. But I'll ask him and be ready to tell you Wednesday.
Okay.
So we would need a bid or something.
79, I have no idea what that is.
If it's something that he can't fix.
I'd say they should have us
Power wash.
power wash. They didn't put the H there, I would say.
Yeah, okay.
But it's done.
It's done.
Did he paint the storage door? Do you know? Down at the pool?
I
Or
don't know.
is this the basement door that they're talking about here? That might be the basement door they're talking about.
Same paint, white color, same as other.
Or the storage area. Now, is that the inside storage area?
You go down the steps and there's that metal door.
Yeah, but they also have a storage area, there's a hallway right next to the kitchen on the back. You know, there's one back there too.
I would say clarify that one, please.
Check, right.
Yeah, so each door.
So the guest union,
Okay. None of these look like they need decisions from us, do they? If you go down and read them, it's just,
there's a.
it's just maintenance work.
Yeah.
There's nothing here. I thought this was supposed to be, well, I guess that's
Well, it's supposed to tell us when it gets done too.
yeah, but it's also supposed to it's supposed to be kind of a wish list too, to tell us things that they want.
Yeah.
Right, and that's where we would say whether or not we approve to do it.
Right, but none of this is all routine maintenance that they've got us saying.
Right.
Okay, 37A down at the bottom. That's the tennis court, we already talked about that one. All right, what's the next number page you guys have?
37C.
37C. Okay, again, the tennis court gets some budget.
They'll be replaced when we replace the fence.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna fix the backboard. Okay, the jungle gym at Rudolph Park. He says he's trying to get the paint for that. Okay.
That was way back as 8614. I have to check on that to be
Yeah,
sure.
that's pretty old. Okay, 40F, Ken. Three rotting wood posts at the golf cart parking shelter. That's been done already,
That
hasn't it?
has been done.
And the trash enclosure, we just talked about that. 41 says done. 42, power washing the buildings. Okay, it says in progress as of 8/6/14, so a year ago.
It's all done except the stable.
No, it's all done except the marina and the
The
stable.
marina and the stables.
Is there any reason why those two buildings weren't done?
If we're talking ship store, I don't think that's, I don't believe at this point it needs power washing.
Okay.
But they are doing a lot of work on the old dockmaster's quarters, so I'm not sure, what they're doing there, but they are in the process of working on it.
Okay, and the stables wasn't done, why?
I don't think we've ever done the staples that I'm aware of.
Okay. Are you saying that it doesn't need it, or?
It probably does.
Okay. Probably does, okay, so can we, so what's the plan on this? He did it a year ago. Is he gonna go out and do it every year, every 2 years? Is
He
he
pretty
as
much,
needed?
yeah, he pretty much does the country club, and I know he's done the guard shack this year, and the harbor inn. I just think he does those things. And that police station is done. I personally do not believe that we have power washed the new police station. I don't think it needs power washing.
Okay.
I think we had, in Congress, conversation in the past talked about trying to put things on a schedule
Mhm.
so that it wouldn't be, well, when somebody thinks about it, well, maybe we need to get that done. It's actually on a schedule and it can be referred to and not left to chance.
Mhm. Well, Debbie, you've set up a template for a schedule, right? So this is something that Ray could use to plug in when he needs to do power washings and stuff like that?
Template
Didn't you do like a important date,
calendar.
important date kind of template?
That was for the board. I
Oh, they
mean,
couldn't
For
do
our
it?
projects kind of thing. It wasn't, it was designed similar to this. But I need to get with Cash, or get with Catherine and look at their, like, what they use for their calendar system
Mhm.
and see what she can start entering in on the calendar. But I would almost think, I mean, it depends on, you know, because everyone can see it, if you want to just put it on the website right now, the calendar is on the website. Just have it on a calendar for right now. Just give every year, every quarter, whatever you want to put, just say, you know.
Just set the blueprint up where every building gets power washed every 2 years. Very seldom do people do it every year. And some of these on here, I noticed, like the one at the marina, it wouldn't make sense to power wash that, it's T111. When it gets bad, you paint it. Where the metal building at the stable, you would want to power wash that.
Well, and they have a marina sign, I guess that's that.
That's
round-
big round
round-
sign.
that one. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Just set up one blueprint, every 2 years you power wash, every 2 years you paint.
Can you then, will you sit down with Catherine and see if you can use that same template for maintenance?
There might actually be something in that new software system, the accounting software.
There is,
system.
but they've got a lot of work to get up to speed on that new system. You're trying to get all of the new assets and everything into that system, and a lot of data entry and all of that. All right, so next page I have is 28, is that right? What do you guys have?
No, 45.
45, okay. Okay, this is the Quiet Harbor, the Quiet Park Porta Potty again, we've already talked about that.
And the other 2 items are done.
The other 2 items are done, good. All right, what's the next number you guys have?
It doesn't have a number.
The radio station?
Radio station.
Is there a reason this is still on here?
Well,
Number
yeah, because that, I mean, as part of the communication.
I forgot all about that, okay. All right.
But we definitely, as a communications committee, need to look at when we can even get this thing working, and we don't even know anything about it right now. So
Okay,
we'll have to get with Dave and whoever else was present at that time,
okay.
talk on.
Okay, so
Shall we leave it as a tracker?
Yeah, leave it on the list until they decide what they're gonna do. Okay, then 28, this is Barb's, the walking paths.
Yeah, look at that date on there, 2012.
Only 3 years, not bad. So, can we just get that report out to everybody? Did they send it electronically? You know?
I don't know, but I have a copy of it. In fact, if I brought my 40-pound traveling audience,
I've still got a copy.
I got a copy too. So bring it to the next work session. Budget's coming up. If you want to allocate money, now's the time to do that. Committee minutes. Is Catherine doing this, Ken, putting the committee minutes on the website? Do you know?
I'm not 100% sure, but I would believe she does.
I think she does too. Okay,
I know we talked about trying to make it all one format,
Yeah.
so that all,
Don,
has that been accomplished?
The committees have the new charter format. Whether they've all been redone or not yet is, probably not. But they all have the format.
They
Tennis
do?
courts again.
How did the committee get them? The new charter?
Catherine sent them out.
She sent them to the chair?
Yeah, whoever the chair was at the time.
Okay.
So, I mean, if there's a committee that doesn't have it,
That's how it's supposed to be done. Catherine said she'd send it out.
Okay.
Since we did talk about moving things, committee minutes to a new site, that gives me an elbow to get in here on the website. Are we doing anything in terms of updating that, making it more user-friendly? I know we've had this discussion so many times.
Problem is that every time that comes up at a finance committee meeting, it gets killed. The committee's got it, or the board, whoever has got to decide to spend the money it takes to get it, to pay an outside person to do it. We can't, we relied on 2 volunteers, they both did a very good job, but volunteers are volunteers, eventually they gotta go away, so.
Well, and the communications committee, just met for the first time this month. And so one of the first things that they discussed was, audiovisual, equipment. That was something that Ken had asked me to see if we could get some information from them on that. The next thing was definitely going to be the website. So they're working on a couple of different things. Unfortunately, we only had, was it 4? 4 people? 5 at the committee meeting itself. So, we're just waiting to get everybody on board and then try and task out what the jobs are going to be. But the website is definitely a priority.
Yeah. Are we finally all in agreement that we need to do something to improve that website? Because I know there's been some who've been in a bubble thinking, oh, it's fine.
No, it needs to be updated, needs to be
User-friendly.
Yeah.
We ought to be able to have our information where the residents can access it easily and not have to be Sherlock Holmes to find where
Right.
everything's located.
Well, and one of the things that one of the members had commented on was that, and I think it's a great idea, is that the committee needs to meet with, at least with Ken and Catherine and the board and/or more residents and make it like, okay, what is it that you want to see on this website? And then, we're gonna have to price out whether we're gonna reconstruct what we have, whether we go out and purchase a whole new, do a whole new website kind of a thing. So, yeah, it's not gonna be overnight. We're not gonna be able to come up with answers
Now,
overnight.
I don't expect anything over.
Go ahead. But, so it may take a couple months, but until then, I think there's probably ways that we can at least try and maybe revamp it a little bit with volunteers. I mean, Corey McGukin was someone who really wanted to take a look at this website and wants to figure out what drives it, how does it work, and that kind of thing, because he may be able to help Catherine do something. We just don't know. We don't know yet.
Didn't you get some information about that?
Phyllis Peloso did give me a name, and I called the woman. She's in Seattle, Washington. And she did send me to her website, but I did contact Debbie asking her for some assistance. I'm certainly not a website guru, and I've been on our website a few times, and I don't know what makes it that difficult, what it takes to. And I do need some assistance with those people on your committee that supposedly understands this stuff.
So we'll be getting in touch with him and trying to get this website up and running.
One thing I've noticed is we have a tendency, we all are on the same page, and we all think we're getting something done, but we fail to put a suspense date on it. And so next thing, year's gone, year and a half, 2 years.
Okay, you got 3 days.
Okay, fine. You want an answer in 3 days? I'll give you an answer in 3 days.
Well, in seriousness though, Deb, do you think the committee could have a ballpark price and time for the finance committee?
Which is November.
Which is November.
I can certainly take it back to them.
Ballpark, I'm not asking for.
Right. Yeah, I can certainly take it back to them and say, this is what the board is asking. What do you think we can do?
We need a list of what you guys want. We need a list of what you guys want first.
Yeah, I've heard that question come up before many times, that we need to figure out what we want. I think a real simple way is to go to some other places, look what they're doing and say, I want that. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You look at where people are saying, oh, they're getting the results they're looking for, they like it. Find out who they're using, it costs and,
Sometimes we try to do that, and we get complaints when we go over somebody else's system.
But the other thing you could do is you could, hate to say it this way, we could, on our own website, say, okay, what are the problems that people are having on our website? Let's get the community to
Fix
Well,
what
and
we
that's,
got.
yeah, you should do that. I mean, you should
Yeah.
find out from the people that use it or that want to use it, what's wrong with
what's
it.
wrong with that.
you know?
yeah, there's that survey monkey thing.
Yeah, but if it's on the website, it's so much easier to fill out a form.
Yeah,
Go back and do it.
I
Not on, not on our website.
I personally use it on a limited basis. I mean, I don't have any trouble getting in here, getting what I want. But then there's probably some stuff that other folks want to see on there that I really don't want to see. Or I don't know, really concern me. I just primarily use it for the calendar of events. I use it for that and a couple other things. That's,
You ever download forms off it or anything like that?
no, I have not.
Even Catherine says you almost need to have a secret map to find things on the site.
All right, so we went through the action item tracker, playgrounds, Don, you want to handle
Playgrounds. At our last regular board session, near the end of it, I asked if anybody in the audience would volunteer to take on the project of forming a committee to look at our existing playgrounds, what condition they were in, and what they felt that we needed to enhance and improve the existing playgrounds. I've seen a lot of committees in my lifetime work, and I have never run across anybody that was so energetic and enthusiastic as the young lady that took this project on, Miss Paula Filial, I believe I'm saying the name correct. This young lady absolutely floored me with what she has done. In a short period of time, I believe she's probably had at least 6 meetings, formed a committee, had at least 6 meetings, 2 of them involving myself and also involved Chip, has met with my point of contact at the manufacturer of the playground equipment that we have. I think she's met with him twice, had him come up here from Richmond and walk through all of our playgrounds and give her recommendations. She's put all of this on Excel spreadsheets, about ran my printer out of ink. And I mean, not just an analysis of what needed to be done, but actual color photographs of the problem areas at these parks. And I don't have enough copies, so I only got this one copy because my printer was flashing that I need to replace the cartridges. But she has taken every single park, determined what maintenance items need to be corrected, and what new equipment they want to see at each one of the facilities. And the committee has determined that they want to make Lions Park the showcase for the harbor. That this is where all the realtors, when they bring people in here, they always run them by the stables to show them the horses. So they're concentrating the bulk of their effort. I believe this is going to be the first project is Lions Park. And then the next one is going to be Friendship Park, is that correct? Which has quite a bit of stuff up there, but that's the only one in Section 3. There's a lot of teenagers there that are hanging out, looking for things to do, and reading what they've got for Section 3. It'll be a tremendous improvement. And I think we as a board are going to have to sit down and decide how much money we're going to put into improving the playgrounds. I added it up to do all of them with what they're looking at before we get a discount. And because we are a quiet harbor and belong to an association, we're entitled to a 24% discount on this playground equipment. Right now, before that takes place, it looks like the total cost for all of the playgrounds in harbor is over $100,000. So we're going to have to make some tough decisions as to which ones we want to tackle first.
Are we gonna
I
bust those
believe
kids
she's
in?
got it down as to she's come up with a 3-year plan, and we're going to have to take a look at it.
This is the parks committee we're talking about? Playgrounds
This
committee.
is what she formed as the playground committee.
Could I make a
In
suggestion?
talking with Chip,
Yeah.
we brought it underneath of Parks and Waterways.
Ah, okay, good.
They're all on board with it. All the correspondence goes to the chairman of the Parks and Waterways Committee. And
Well,
so
that was my suggestion, so that everybody,
That seems
Knows what
pretty
the
cheap
other ones
to me.
do.
it's, yeah, I was surprised at the cost. Down at the playground equipment is broken up by age groups. You get big piece of equipment for 2 to 5-year-olds, then it goes 5 to 12. Some of the parks we've got, like this one here, is 2 to 5. You go to another park, it's 5 to 12. Down at the Lions Park, which only has a swing set, way back in the corner that floods every time something happens, they want to put both the 2 to 5-year-old playground equipment and the 5 to 12 playground equipment with a bunch of other items that are going to go around. It's going to be like a little miniature theme park down there when they're through. I was very impressed with what they've done.
This $100,000, that's just equipment now. That's not gonna include building, like four.
That does not include all the mulch that's going to have to be put down underneath of everything, or the 6x6s or 8x8s, whatever we put around to contain that. That's absolutely correct. And I don't have a cost on the maintenance items. Some of the maintenance items were just as simple as power wash what we've got. And some of it is replace some of the swing sets or replace the shackles with the newer shackles that hold the swing sets. But like I said, I have never met anybody that was so energetic and enthusiastic and got so much done in such a short period of time as Ms. Philio. My hat's off to you, Melanie.
Thank you. Well, it sounds like she's gonna get on the board here next, right? So she can take care of all this stuff.
If anybody is interested in what she's recommended, I've got it up here. I'm not going to sit here and read this
Got it
whole.
electronically?
Huh?
I can get it to you electronically.
Yeah, she has sent it to me as an Excel
Yeah, I'll have to get a
spreadsheet,
copy of it.
and or I can just have her send it to each one of the board. She sent it to you too.
Yeah, I'll send it to her.
Yeah. So,
Don, just a little institutional knowledge about this. We have discussed in the past Friendship Park and the fact that there are a bunch of middle school age boys in particular who like rough and tumble games, like baseball, softball, football, whatever, lacrosse. We have discussed for a period of time now possibility of doing something at Friendship Park for the older kids. We talked about a softball, baseball type field, lots of resistance because it hasn't been done before, so probably can't be done. But I think it would be nice to get maybe some input about how there's something that can be done for the older kids there. And it is, they're up in the third section, there's nothing close by except the middle of the road.
But no, you're right, another ball field in here, another baseball field would definitely be a great
We
addition.
talked about that back when I was in Parks and Rec, and we talked that Ray and Wes said it would be simple just to go out there and level that area where it's currently, there's nothing there except a rocky field, and then further down towards the road, there is a volleyball net that is coming apart, by the way, if anybody needs to take a look at the volleyball net. But we talked about some ideas there, and again, we were looking at fairly inexpensive ways to enhance the community for a large number of people.
Well, in her memo to me, I'll just read this one part. It was right along with what you said.
Good.
Currently, the consensus is to do a full park build at Lion Park this year. Add some older kids stuff at Friendship Park, such as the half-court basketball, sand for a volleyball court, and lacrosse and soccer nets.
Yeah.
So they're looking at doing the stuff for the older kids. We've had a lot of vandalism at Friendship Park. When the equipment guy from Game Time came out there and took a look at what was up there, and it was his equipment, he immediately said, somebody set fire to this. And he laid on his back underneath of a piece of equipment, he says, yes, this has been burnt. And several, and Paul has got pictures of that in this report. Somebody else has, in one place, the signs that were attached to aluminum poles that provided instruction on how to use the exercise equipment there, they were taken down. And I understand they were so badly damaged and vandalized that our own maintenance people took those down. But the poles have been shot up with BB guns and repellent guns. So there's been some vandalism going up there at Friendship Park, I guess because they're just bored. There's nothing for them to do up there.
Well,
So
it's
that's one of the areas we're going to concentrate.
kind of off the beaten path too.
Yeah.
You know.
There's a lot of middle school guys, because that's very short distance from where I live.
I bet you were out there with a pellet gun.
Nah, shotgun.
Okay.
I do need to do something in that area up there. I mean, that's a big area out there, just to totally.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many possibilities.
Okay, so you and I talked about this, the next work session, are you willing to make a presentation?
Oh, yeah,
3-year plan,
absolutely.
layout and everything?
Yep.
Okay, is everybody okay with that?
And
Okay.
just to clarify, I have a whole committee that came up with those. It wasn't like, this is what Paula wanted. Okay.
We'll give you all the credit anyway.
I mean, only if you like it. If you don't like it, it was their fault.
All right, so the next work session, Paul's going to give us a presentation on a 3-year plan to redo all the parks. Okay? All right, animals in the AHPOA buildings, Chris is not here. Communications, Deb? Are you finished, or do you have more?
Well, no, unfortunately, because of not being available for the last month and a half, and then Catherine being out this week, I want to schedule some time with Catherine and Ken to talk about what's your current methods of communication, you know, what's your time frame when you get something, what is your time to respond, what's the expectation of the people that ask the questions and that kind of thing, in order to then work on a new method. But I need their input, I need their buy-in kind of thing in order to then be able to present this. Now, but I also remember that there was a discussion, I believe that the lawyer was also going to be creating some type of policy.
Policy concerning,
Communication policy?
What items?
I'm not sure.
That's all I remember is the communication policy. I'd have to go back through it. Like I say, I wasn't really watching too much emails, but I just remembered seeing an email come back about that. So I'll get back with Ken and everything, but and then also just to remind everybody that the communications committee has started. And it's meeting
Fourth Tuesday
Thank
of the
you.
month.
Fourth Tuesday of the month, is that?
Yeah,
fourth Tuesday of every
Fourth
month.
Tuesday of the month at the Country Club, 6:30.
Too many meetings.
At 6:30?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, number 7, ACC and LCC charters. This is just kind of an FYI. The board, I think 2 meetings ago, adopted a standardized charter for all the committees to use. It was pointed out to me at the ACC that the ACC and the LCC are actually driven by the bylaws and the covenants and restrictions. So they already have their own charters and they're kind of locked in stone. So
I didn't touch them.
So there's nothing to do there. So you won't be getting any feedback from them on that one. Number 8, this came up in a discussion with, we had a couple of telephone conferences with the attorney. This one, guests being present during committee meetings. This is really, again, has to do with the ACC and the LCC. Since those committees are very homeowner specific, there was a request to tape those meetings. At that time, I said no. The attorney says they can be taped, but we have to establish a policy first on how to protect the privacy.
That's the policy.
Okay, there you go.
Oh, yeah, that's
So
it.
we have to establish a policy to protect the privacy of the homeowners who are being discussed in the LCC and the ACC. I will take that on and hopefully have something for you soon on that one. Number 9, I'm just going to, at that very same meeting with the attorney, we were talking about getting a lot of requests for documents from the homeowners, and the attorney just let it slip that a lot of homeowners associations have policies that, you know, if you want documents, it's 5 cents a page or whatever it is. That's why I put that on the agenda, but that whole thing has kind of died down, so until it revs up again, I'm not gonna push that one, so I'm not gonna worry about that. Collections. Don and I again had another telephone conference with the attorney. We want to, and we have to do this in executive session, but we want to consider foreclosing on a couple of deadbeats. Foreclosure is a $7,000 legal process. We've given, Ken, did we give the attorney the accounts to see if we can determine whether there's any equity anywhere?
They do have a method of determining equity in a home.
But did we give them any names yet?
No.
Okay. All right, so in order to do a foreclosure, you have to have a judgment. Okay, we have, what did they say, 15 was it 15 or 21 homes that we have judgments against?
It was 15.
15, okay. So we have 15 likely candidates right there that we could go ahead and send the names to the attorneys. They could do their research, see if any of these people have any equity in their homes, and then we could decide whether you want to go through this process of kicking your neighbors out of their homes. But it's something to think about there. We will bring it up at the executive session for you guys to discuss. The other thing we found out at this meeting is that once dues get over 3 years old, they get much harder to collect. And our attorney has recommended that we file judgments. Is that the right term? That's the right term, right? Okay. We file judgments against everybody who is 3 years delinquent. So we're compiling a list. Judgments are about $500 a pop.
And the judgment is the start of that.
This judgment is the start of the foreclosure process. But also, a lot of times when you get people to the judgment table and the sheriffs come to their door and say, okay, you got to pay up, we make it pay. But that, you know, I'm off the top of my head, I'm thinking 30, 40 people at $500 a pop. It's going to be a big hit on our collections that we budgeted for. So we'll get that number and then we can decide whether we want to proceed down that road. I think we should, but we'll find out what the financial piece is there and then make a decision as to whether we want to go there. You have anything on that?
I was just going to say, what brought this up, I guess, was I was having a discussion with a neighbor friend of mine who also owns his own realty company. He brought up the fact of so many delinquent homeowners in here who are not paying their dues or haven't paid their dues in years, and he said, I just do not understand why you're not making those people sell their houses. And I said, what? He said, the people in this harbor are tired of these people riding on our backs. You know you got people in here who have no intent of paying. That something needs to be done, and the board can force the people to sell their house. And so that's what prompted it. We called the lawyer. He said, yes, he's right. And it's the foreclosure action, and here's the steps you have to take, and it costs $7,000 to do that. But if they're not upside down, you'll get that $7,000 back, plus the lawyer fees and everything else that was put into it, is the bottom line. So if the person's not upside down, and we're going to have to take a look at the people that are in here, that we've got a list of who they are, how much they owe, and how long they've owed us, year after year not paying dues. At some point in time, it's just got to stop. And we've got to say enough is enough, and you force them to, it sounds harsh, but you force them to sell their house, goes into foreclosure, and hopefully you get somebody in here that'll pay the dues.
Well, what concerns me is that we have this lawyer, we've talked to him, he knows that we want to be able to do collections, and why was it that you were able, you went to him and gave him the suggestion, and he didn't come to us?
We've always known about foreclosure, we actually did one.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, when we got on the board, that was, and when I was running for the board, I asked that was one of my priorities in running for the board, was this, and the answer I got back from the previous boards, Jim Hodges and Chip was said, Don, it's too expensive. It's very cost prohibitive to do that, but you get to a point where, yeah, it's gonna cost us some money, but how long do you wanna let this go on? Because it is pulling this community down. When this community is owed $500,000, think about what we could do if we had that money. It's just getting ridiculous.
One of the things to keep in mind, though, most people don't own their homes outright. Most people will have a first mortgage, some a second mortgage, some even a home equity line of credit. So we would come in last in line, basically. So they would not only have to have enough value in their home to pay off their first and second, possible third liens on it, but also have to have enough left then to pay off what they would owe us in addition to the court fees. So it's by no means a slam dunk, you know, especially like you said, there's some people whose homes are worth less than what they owe for them. But I think we should exhaust all means